I'm used to, being from Petersburg. It's a great pleasure. The State Department is a very forgiving department, after all I've done. This is from my new book, Super Sad True Love Story. A wonderful cover that really tested well with the youth market. If you have a dachshund or any small dog, they can play Twister. The next day, Eunice and I took the Long Island Railroad to Westbury, Long Island to meet my parents, the Abramovs. The love I felt for Eunice on that train ride had a capital and provinces, parishes and a Vatican, an orange planet and many sullen moons. It was systemic and it was complete. Eunice was nervous almost to the point of quaking. Her outfit was conservative for the occasion. A sky blue blouse with a Peter Pan collar and white buttons, pleated wool skirt reaching down below the knees, a black ribbon tied around the neck. From certain angles, she looked like one of the Orthodox Jewish women who have overrun my co-op building. There she was, sweating so handsomely on her orange pleather LIRR seat. Her elder worship and elder fear brought out a strange immigrant pride in me. We took a cab to the corner of Washington Avenue in Myron, the most important corner of my life. I could already see my parents' brownish, half-brick, half-stucco cape, the golden mailbox out in front, the faux 19th century lamp beside it, the cheap lawn chairs stacked on the island of cement that was supposed to be the front porch, and the gigantic flags of the United States and Israel billowing from two flagpoles. I felt a little embarrassed because I knew that Eunice's parents were much better off than mine. At the door, my mother appeared in her usual household outfit, white bra and panties. She was about to throw her arms around my neck when she noticed Eunice, let out some Russian garble of amazement, and retreated inside the house, leaving me, per the usual, with the visuals of her thick breasts and white little round of belly. My father, shirtless, soon took her place, also gasped at Eunice, ran his hand against his naked, muscular breasts, and "Oh," then hugged me. There was hair against my new dress shirt, the gray carpet of hair that my father wore with an odd touch of class, as if he were a royal in some tropical country. He kissed me on both cheeks, and I did the same, feeling the instructions, the code of Russian father-son relations. Father means, I have to love him, have to listen to him, can't offend him, can't hurt him, can't bring him to task for past wrongs. He's an old man now, defenseless. My mother reappeared in shorts and a wife beater. "Synochek, little son," she shouted, "look who's come to us, nash lubimets, our favorite." She shook Eunice's hand, and both of my parents swiftly evaluated her, affirmed that she was, like her predecessors, not Jewish, but quietly approved of the fact that she was thin and attractive, with a healthy black mane of hair. My mother unwrapped her own precious blonde locks from the green handkerchief that kept them safe from the American sun, and smiled prettily at Eunice. She began talking in her brave post-retirement English about how glad she was to have a potential daughter-in-law, filling in the contours of her loneliness with rapid-fire questions about my mysterious life in faraway New York. Does Lenny keep clean house? Does he vacuum? Once I come to college dormitorium. Oh, awful, such smell. Then Ficus tree, old cheese on table, socks hanging in window. Eunice smiled and spoke in my favor. "He's very good, Miss Abramov," she said. "He's very, very clean." I looked at her with love. Somewhere beneath the bright suburban skies, I felt the presence of a .50 caliber Browning gun swiveling toward an incoming Long Island Railroad train. But here I stood, surrounded by the people who loved me. "I brought tagamet from the discount pharmacy," I said to my father, taking 5 boxes out of the bag I brought. "Thank you, malenki, little one," my father said, taking hold of his beloved drug. "Peptic ulcer," he said to Eunice, pointing at the depths of his tortured stomach. My mother had already grabbed hold of the back of my head and was madly stroking my hair. "So gray," she said, "so old he gets, almost 40. Lyonya, what is happening to you? Too much stress? Also losing hair. Oh my God." "You are named Eunice," my father said. "Do you know where it comes from, such name?" "My parents?" Eunice gamely began. "No, it's from the Greek, unike, meaning victorious." He laughed, happy to demonstrate that before he was forced to be a janitor in America, he had served as a quasi-intellectual and minor dandy on Moscow's Arbat. "So I hope," he said, "that in life you will be victorious also." "Who cares about Greek, Boris?" my mother said. "Look at how she's beautiful." The fact that my parents admired Eunice's looks and capacity for victory brightened me quite a bit. All these years, and I still crave their approval, still long for the carrot and stick of their 19th century child rearing. I instructed myself to lower the heat of my emotions, to think without the family blood bursting at my temples. But I was 12 years old as soon as I passed the mezuzah at the front door. My father began to lead me to the living room couch for our usual heart-to-heart. My mother rushed over to the couch with a garbage bag, which she draped over the place where I was about to sit in my compromised Manhattan outerwear. She took Eunice to the kitchen, chatting gaily to her potential daughter-in-law about how guys can be so dirty, you know, and how she had just built a new storage device for her many mops. On the couch, my father draped his arm around my shoulder and said, "Nu расскажи, so tell me." I breathed in the same breath as he did, as if we were connected. I felt his age seep into mine, as if he were the forward guard of my own mortality. I spoke in English, with the tantalizing hints of Russian. I had studied haphazardly at NYU, the foreign words like raisins shining out of a loaf. I spoke about work, about my assets, about the most recent, fairly positive valuation of my 740 square foot Manhattan apartment, about all the monetary things that kept us fearful and connected. He held up the new apparat pendant I wore around my neck. "How much?" he said, turning the thing over, colorful data and rankings pouring over his hairy fingers. When I explained that the device was given to me at work, he made a happy snort and said in English, "Ah, learning the technology for free. It's good." I felt my father's breath against my cheek for 20 minutes as he talked about his complex political life on The Fox, then excused myself, unwound from his humid embrace, and went to the upstairs bathroom as my mother shouted to me from the kitchen, "Lenny, don't take shoes off in upstairs bathroom. Papa has gribok, athlete's foot." In the contaminated bathroom, I admired the strange blob of plastic with wooden spokes that kept my mother's serious mop collection in ready-to-access mode. Although my parents never had a good word to say about the country now known as Holy Petrol Russia, the hallways were hung with framed sepia postcards of Red Square and the Kremlin, the snow-dusted equestrian statue of Prince Yuri Dolgoruki, founder of Moscow, and the Gothic Stalin-era skyscraper of prestigious Moscow State University, which neither of my parents had attended because, to hear them tell it, Jews were not allowed in back then. As for me, I have never been to Russia. I have not had the chance to learn to love it and hate it like my parents. I have my own dying empire to contend with, and I do not wish for any other. My bedroom was nearly empty. All the traces of my habitation, the posters and little bits of crap from my travels were gone. I reveled in the smallness, the coziness of an upstairs bedroom in a traditional American Cape Cod house. The half floor that forces you to duck, to feel small and naive again. I cannot begin to tell you how much the purchase of this house, of each tiny bedroom, had meant to my family and to me. I still remember the signing at the real estate lawyer's office. The three of us mentally forgiving each other for a decade and a half worth of sins, the youthful beatings administered by my father, my mother's anxieties and manias, my own teenage sullenness, because the janitor and his wife had done something right at last, and it would all be okay now. There was no turning back from this glorious fortune we have been granted in the middle of Long Island, from the carefully clipped bushes by the mailbox, our bushes, Abramov bushes, to the often mentioned Californian possibility of an above-ground swimming pool in the tiny yard. Down in the dining room with the shiny Romanian furniture the Abramovs had imported from their Moscow apartment, the table was laid out in the hospitable Russian manner with everything from 4 different kinds of salami to a plate of chewy tongue to every little fish that had ever inhabited the Baltic Sea, not to mention that sacred little dash of beluga. Eunice sat Queen Esther-like in her Orthodox getup at the ceremonial end of the table upon a fluffed-up Passover pillow, frowning at the attention, unsure of how to deal with the strange currents of love and its opposite that circulated in the fish-smelling air. We dove into the food without reservation, all of us from countries historically strangled by starvation, none of us strangers to salt and brine. "Eunice," my mother said, "perhaps you can answer for me this question. Who is Lenny by profession? I never can figure it out. He went to NYU business school, so he is like what, businessman?" "Mama," I said, "please, not now." "I am talking to Eunice," my mother said. "You know, girls talk." I had never seen Eunice's face so serious, even as the tail end of a Baltic sardine disappeared between her glossy lips. "Lenny does, like, very important work," she said. "It's, I think, like medicine. Like, he helps people live forever." My father's fist slammed the dining table. "Impossible," he cried. "It breaks every law of physics and biology. For one. For two, it's immoral against God. Pooh, I would not want such thing. Work is work, my mother said. If stupid rich American wants to live forever, and Lenny makes money, why do you care? She waved her hand at my father. Stupid, she said. Yeah, but how Lenny knows about medicine? My father lit up, brandishing a fork capped by a marinated mushroom. He never studied in high school. What is his weighted average? 86.89. My mother waved him off again and turned to Eunice. So you met Lenny in Italy, she said. Lenny tells us you speak perfect Italian. Eunice blushed some more. No, she said, lowering her eyes and cupping her knees. I'm forgetting everything, the irregular verbs. Lenny spends 1 year in Italy, my father said. We come to visit him. He speaks nothing. Blah, 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 blah. He moved his body to imitate my walking through the Roman streets while trying to talk to the natives. You're a liar, Boris, my mother said casually. You bought us beautiful tomato in market. You brought down price, €3. Tomato, so simple, my father said. In Russian, pomidor, in Italian, pomodoro. Even I know such thing. He maybe negotiates for us cucumber or squash. I did not say anything. I leaned back and watched the two women in my life look across a glossy Romanian table, groaning beneath a plastic cover and 20 gallons of mayonnaise and canned fish. They were eyeing each other with a placid understanding. Sometimes mothers and girlfriends compete against one another, but that has never been my experience. It is quite easy for two smart women, no matter what the gap in their age and background, to come to a complete agreement about me. This child, they seem to be saying to each other. This child still needs to be brought up. Thank you.